Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to another 9.3 preview video. This time we're going to be looking at the M41 Walker Bulldog, which I will say is probably my favorite tank coming in 9.3. This tank is unique as it has a 10-round autoloader, giving it the highest clip potential of any light tank. It is also highly mobile with 10 degrees of gun depression, giving this tank the flexibility to be an absolute little terror on the battlefield. I'm going to quickly run down what makes this tank special and then get stuck into a triple helping of gameplay. So the M41 Walker Bulldog comes after the Tier 6 American light tank, the T-37. To be able to research the Bulldog, you are going to have to get 56,300 experience in the T-37. Once you've researched the Bulldog, you'll be happy to know that the engine is currently used on the T-69. So if you have that Tier 8 American autoloader medium tank, you'll be able to incorporate that into your Bulldog build. It's the same story with the radio shared on the T-71, the M103, and the T-54E1. The Bulldog has a plethora of 76mm guns, which I'm going to disambiguate for you in just a second. It is worth noting that although these guns are only used on the Walker Bulldog, they aren't that expensive, only costing 10,000 experience each. The Walker Bulldog is the same size as the T-37, but it's larger than the M24 Chaffee, and it's also larger than its Tier 7 American light tank competition, the T-71. This is not a good thing. You don't want to be a big target when you're in your light tanks, as it does make you a lot easier to hit. Nevertheless, the tank does have 910 hit points, which means that it will be able to weather a shot or two. The tank also has a mobility upgrade over the T-37 that, although it weighs the same, its engine power has increased by 50 horsepower. The tank's specific power ratio is a very healthy 23.21 horsepower per ton, which allows this tank to get up to its whopping top speed limit of 72.4 kilometers an hour, which all 9.2 Chaffee drivers will be very happy to hear. One of the remarkable things about the Walker Bulldog is its 56 degrees a second traverse speed, which allows this tank to easily run rings around its opponents. To be able to achieve this level of mobility by keeping the weight down of the tank, however, it has very thin armor. 25 at the front, 25 at the rear, and 19 at the back of the hull. And the turret armor is 25, 25, and 25. If we look at the armor profile of this tank, we find that it has 31.8mm of spaced armor over the front of the turret, with a rectangle behind that which is 0mm thick. This spaced armor will really be one of your few chances to bounce with this tank. You're going to have to hope that you can absorb some of the damage with your tracks, or simply use the amazing mobility to avoid incoming fire. Nevertheless, as quite a fat little light tank in a close quarters situation, they are quite tricky to miss. Now onto the guns of the Bulldog, and this is what truly makes it fierce. The stock 76mm is what you would expect from the previous tank. This was used on the T-37. A very impressive rate of fire, but 150mm of penetration and 115 alpha damage. While this gun is still okay, it's really not competitive on a Tier 7 light tank. And when you unlock the first 76mm, you get a massive performance boost, getting 175mm of penetration and 150 alpha damage, which compensates for the slower rate of fire of the gun. So the speciality of this tank is this 76mm autoloader with a 10 shell magazine. That's right, a 10 shell 76mm magazine. This gives this tank the highest clip potential of any light tank autoloader of 1,500 average damage. However, to be able to fire all of those shells, you would have to be consecutively firing for 18 seconds from firing your first shot, as there is a 2-second delay between firing each shell. Now the penetration on all of the 76mm apart from the stock is 175, and the average damage is 150. The accuracy on this gun is very underwhelming though, it's 0.4, but the aim time is pretty good at 2.1, which means that if you're stationary, you can fire at full auto with complete accuracy on this tank, if you choose to use the vertical stabilizers, which, as this tank cannot use a gun rammer as it has an autoloader, I strongly recommend that you do. Now, apart from that, the other stats on this tank are very remarkable. It's got 50 degrees a second traverse speed, so it can quickly engage its targets at multiple angles, with 400 meters view range, making it a standard scout, got tier 10 kind of view range at tier 7. And if you put optics on this tank and have maybe a couple of commander skills and a radio man skill, such as recon and situational awareness, you will be spotting your enemies at very long distances. So let's get stuck straight into some gameplay to show you what this autoloader is capable of. So we are on Himmelsdorf and the action is about to hot up. Let's put this autoloader to good use. And yeah, a lot of people absolutely freak out when seeing these 10 shells all preloaded. Every 30 seconds, this tank is able to dish out 1,500 damage, spread amongst all manner of opponents. And here are two tier 7 Soviet light tanks, LTTBs. And here's another Walker Bulldog. So far we've put in 5 shots, 6, 7, 8. Oh, you want some too? I missed my 9th. Hit the 10th. Oh, hit the 9th, sorry. I must have miscounted there. I'm putting the 10th. 1,424 damage. Spread between 3 separate tanks. The Bulldog really does have a bite with this autoloader, and it can just dish out the pain very quickly indeed. Take note, however, of the reload, which, as I am using Cola in this replay, is slightly shorter than 30 seconds. I believe it'll be 28. We finish off the LTTB and start to work the KV-85 in the lower plate, dealing another 300 damage to that tier 6 Soviet heavy tank, replacement of the KV-1S. Now, I didn't feel like reloading. I've still got 6 shells left. That's more than enough potential damage to put out some serious hurt still. When I lost all of my health in that last engagement, thinking that the battle was going to end, it's put me down on 1 shot now, and it sounds like that KV-85 is using the 100mm, which has a rather good rate of fire on it. Nevertheless, he's not looking our way. Let's burst around the corner, finish off his Bulldog friend, and turn round to handle the KV-85 as well, which we fired our shot into just after our ally picked him off. So we were able to do 2,200 damage in this very short game, which lasted just over 3 minutes from the start. This very unique 10-round autoloader allows you to reload for a considerable amount of time, but then to have a huge amount of damage to be able to choose who you want to deliver it to. And it's very effective with that 175mm of penetration. This tank performs pretty much the same as a T-71, except it has that extra 4 shells. Now, that extra 4 shells is very special. It's the difference between, for example, killing the entirety of the enemy AMX 1390, or only doing 900 average damage like the T-71 can. Or it's killing the entirety of a T-29, the 1,250 hit points of the T-29, which the T-71 cannot. There are downsides, however. If you do get caught reloading in this tank, you are in a hell of a lot of trouble. What I was impressed about having that autoloader and dishing out so much damage so quickly is that we were able to keep 3 light tanks at bay. When I'm playing against autoloaders, I always count the shells that they fired so I can base my actions upon them. If I'm playing against a T-69, for example, maybe I'll try to get him to miss 2 shots so that I know that I'm only going to take that 480 average damage from his remaining 2, and then I know that I've got him because he's going to spend a while reloading. It's going to be much more challenging to do that against an M41 Walker Bulldog, as they fire so fast with so many in the magazine. Anyway, let's get stuck straight into some more gameplay. So here we spot a KV-85 in spawn and an ISU-152 in the open. 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last one does a critical hit, maybe to his gun or to his tracks, I didn't quite see. 742 damage done to that ISU-152. And we've still got some left for this KV-1S who's been caught in the open. Notice how you can fire this gun at maximum accuracy while full autoing, i.e. you can fully aim your shot between the 2 seconds that you have with vertical stabilizers between your shells. So seeing how we just ripped apart that Tier 8 Soviet tank destroyer, at long range, we're going to move in between our reloads. And maybe you'll get a feel for how much ground the Walker Bulldog can cover in 30 seconds. And 30 seconds doesn't feel that long. When you play, for example, a Waffenträger Alpha E100, that's got probably a 50-second reload, or just under. 30 seconds doesn't feel that long on this tank. And this SU-100 is not doing very well at all. We turn our attention to this Walker Bulldog, who might be coming in front of us in just a second. We flank around him, but he gets one shot. Now we're going to engage his Hellcat instead, who gets taken out, and we get to continue on our quest. I decide to reload. Staying out of line of fire, as the enemy do have a considerable number of tanks left. After about 10 seconds behind a rock, we can maneuver our way forwards, hopefully ready to engage whatever we have in front of us. And just notice how fast the M41 Walker Bulldog is. We have our equal number against us here. He fires one shot. I'm trying to close the distance. He's firing heat. We bounce our first, hit the second. Now he pops out every time we move, and it's very easy to see this. Very little that he can do. And we kill our opposite number. And reload again, as we did miss a few shots and had to hit him 3 times as well. Just going to fast forward the replay here so we don't waste any time. Have an opportunity to shoot at this T-150. We miss our first.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Only managed to put one in. But we have 8 shots left, which is enough to kill the entirety of a Borsig. As we're going to see here, a nice, softly armored German tank at long range.
Penetration. Enemy armor is hit.
Mercy roll there.
Critical hit.
Another one hits the tracks. Oh well, we've got another. Oh, another critical hit. Oh well, we have another. In every other autoloader, we might be quite annoyed that we put 2 non-damaging critical hits into the side of a Borsig, but not in the M41 Walker Bulldog if it's using the autoloader. It doesn't really care, because it usually still has more shots to take you out with. We did 2,600 damage this game and raced around the battlefield with the speed that this Tier 7 American light tank has. But if autoloaders aren't quite your thing, don't worry. The M41 Walker Bulldog has the opportunity to use a regular 76mm that we can put to good effect. Let's check it out in the garage. This 76mm is not an autoloader, but it has a very impressive rate of fire, firing 17.14 rounds a minute. It has the same 175mm of penetration and 150 alpha damage that the autoloader has, but is slightly more accurate at 0.38 instead of 0.4, and the aim time is 0.2 better at 1.9. The actual reload of this gun with 100% crew, without brothers in arms, and without using a cola consumable, is 3.28. That's only 1.28 seconds faster than the autoloader can fire. But it can do that forever until the end of the battle. It doesn't have to spend 30 seconds reloading the entire clip. Now for sustained damage, the non-autoloader is going to be able to do more over the long run. Let's compare the optimal situation for the autoloader versus the standard gun. one Walker Bulldog fully loaded using the autoloader and one Walker Bulldog using the top 76mm non-autoloader meet a generic target that they're both able to penetrate. Now please don't be scared by the graph, I'm trying to visualize this engagement for you. The blue line is a Walker Bulldog with an autoloader, and the red line is a Walker Bulldog with the regular 76mm. Here we have the total damage they will have done to the target over the time from the initial engagement. Please accept the caveat that I have not modeled the individual shots. This is basically just a standard amount of damage that's done over time. Within the first 18 seconds of the engagement, the autoloader is going to have been able to have done 1,500 damage to the target. Whereas by that 18th second, the regular gun will have done 900 damage to the target. Over the next 30 seconds, the autoloader has to reload, which allows the regular gun to overtake it, achieving 2,250 damage by the time the autoloader has reloaded. As we can see, that little pop gun unloads its full clip, but doesn't manage to overtake the regular gun by that 66th second when it has fully unloaded its second clip. Then it has to spend the next 30 seconds reloading, getting drastically behind the regular gun in raw damage done. Now obviously this is just trying to visualize the amount of damage that you're going to be able to do and how quickly you're going to be able to do it, because quite often you have to do a hell of a lot of damage to be able to carry your games, and the quicker that you can do it in World of Tanks, the better, and the more likely you are to win that engagement and win the game for your team. One thing we must consider, however, is that the engagements are never as simple as this. It's hardly ever you just fully unloading into one target without, for example, having to evade fire, having to escape artillery. Lots of things will happen. Also, with the way that autoloaders work, this down period, which you can see here that an autoloader will be doing no damage, the regular gun might have been doing no damage as well. But on the other hand, there are engagements which are continuous, unrelenting, and never stop, or they work in bursts. Maybe you have to fire out 4 shots, and then you hide for a few seconds, and then you can fire out 4 shots again, hide, repeat. In that kind of an engagement, the regular gun is going to do better. But when we have, for example, a one-on-one engagement, quite often you have to make that fight, and then you can spend a while getting to your next target, or at least evading fire between your reloads. Now, the argument between these guns is something that I'm going to have to get a feel of over hundreds of games on the live server. My opinion, however, is that the autoloader will always be better in that very tense one-on-one situation, as well as going in and killing multiple opponents. But that 76mm might just be better in those sustained engagements. So let's take a look to see how the non-autoloader does in some gameplay.
Time to roll out.
So here we are on Sand River Assault. I think the most important place to take is going to be the center of the map along this ridgeline, where hopefully you can spot most of the opponents. This is a rather standard kind of matchup when we look at it. It's not sort of just a rush of scouts. It's a good mix between heavies, people testing out the E25s, which should excel on this map. And only a couple of people are playing the new light tanks on the enemy team. So we've used the fantastic maneuverability of the Bulldog to rush into position. And now we're lighting up as much of the enemy team as we can possibly can. Trying to call in some shots. Thankfully this bush is giving us some rather good cover, which allows us to keep the enemy team lit up and us to remain hidden. When the live server comes out, I will be most likely moving my Chaffee crew into this tank. But we don't have time to talk about that, it's time to pull back right now, as we got spotted by the enemy team. Now we can see there's an E25 who's being rather aggressive, sees that the IS-6s are in the ditch. And this might be an opportunity for us. We miss our first, but we hit our second into him. But he has fled into the ditch. Nevertheless, we have quite a few good long-range engagements here.
Enemy is hit.
One into the E25.
Enemy armor is
Two.
damaged.
And remember, there is a 3.28 reload speed between these shots. This is not the autoloader we're looking at.
Enemy armor is damaged.
We've done 584 damage so far to this tier 7 tank destroyer. He puts one into us finally, but it's too late for him. We kill the entirety of his tank very quickly indeed. Now we've got a tier 7 Soviet light tank to deal with, the LTTB. We put a shot into his tracks, taking them off, but we're getting engaged from behind now. We better hurry up with whatever we're going to do. We get hit again, and oh my word, we're losing all of our health. We need to get out of this situation. We're going to have to go all in here and see if we can take out this E25. And a T-34 too as well. He's just fired, which should allow us to shoot him a couple of times. Now remember, the penetration on this light tank is remarkable, 175 millimeters, which is more than enough to go through the side of most vehicles. Puts in a good shot into us, but thankfully our gun is more than sufficient to go right through the front of his armor, taking him out, doing 488 damage to him quickly indeed. So this assault game has been fast and furious. I'm trying to figure out what I should do now. And I believe there is an opening. The enemy have left the middle of the map. But this IS-6 comes forward, so we're going to have to break through him. And so now we are using heat ammunition in this tank. The armor on the IS-6 is very thick indeed. But in retrospect, I'm having a bit of trouble penetrating his spaced armor. And even bouncing off the side of his turret. We go up onto a place where the gun depression / elevation won't be a problem for us, and try and engage the IS-6. He aims at us. We put one more into him, connecting our third shell before he dies to the E25 that he turned his turret away from. Now the Bulldog is released. We're looking to see which way the enemies are engaging. We have a nice clean kill on the IS-6, but it's taken away. Now we've got to deal with this tier 6 Soviet heavy tank. We juke round him, stopping him from being able to engage us, take him out, and now go to town on the back of this Jagdtiger 88. Just check out the fantastic DPM of this tank. Ripping that tier 8 tank destroyer apart, and there's absolutely nothing this guy can do. He's trying to reverse into us to ram us to death, but we're not going to let that happen as we casually drive away from him and take him out of the battle. The maneuverability and the sheer brutal DPM of the Bulldog left that Jagdtiger absolutely no chance. During this battle, I was able to show you how the Walker Bulldog can perform as a pure scout along the ridge lines, use its raw power to get its way out of some hairy close quarters combat, and maneuverability to outflank and outperform its foes. Let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So we had a very successful game there not using the Autoloader. We managed to get 4,956 experience for this double, picking up a scout medal and the high caliber. I'll just quickly run down this plethora of medals which have been added into the game in 9.3. This is the fighter medal for destroying 4 or 5 enemy vehicles, sort of a semi-Top Gun. The spotter medal for spotting enemy vehicles, enabling your allies to cause 1,000 HP of damage. The Hand of God. Survive and win one battle, having received damage from at least 4 different enemy tanks. The Duelist, for destroying at least 2 enemy vehicles that had caused damage to you. The Bruiser, for damaging enemy vehicles' modules or injuring their crew members at least 5 times during the battle. And finally, Fire for effect. Cause more damage to enemy vehicles than the hit points of your vehicle. I think it's great that Wargaming are awarding more different kinds of gameplay, and this is fine as long as they keep them separate from what truly are the Battle Hero medals. So we managed to do 3,878 damage that game, achieving a Mastery badge for our base experience of 1,652. So we spotted 10 of the enemy vehicles and enabled our team to do 1,208 damage upon detection. This was a great game for the Walker Bulldog, and I hopefully showed you what the tank is capable of if it doesn't use the autoloader. So I am absolutely loving this tank. It looks like it could be one of the best light tanks in the game next patch, in my opinion. I can't wait to get my hands on this absolute little beast of a tank and do a full review on it for you. I'm currently undecided about whether the Autoloader or the regular 76mm is going to be better on this tank. I probably think I will be using the regular 76mm if the rate of fire stays the same as it is now. I feel that the Autoloader just takes too long to dish out that damage, irrelevant of the fact that the clip potential is amazing indeed. Having that improved accuracy and the better aim time allow you to be so much more effective on ridge lines with the regular gun. However, in these close quarters fights, where you simply need to dish out about 1,500 damage hopefully in quick succession, the Autoloader will be your choice. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, or maybe it was just useful to you, please consider giving it a like down below. I'd really appreciate it and it helps the channel out immensely. I have done a video on the bigger brother of the M41 Walker Bulldog, that is the T49. It's a tier 8 light tank with this 152mm gun on it. So if you're interested, click here and it'll take you through to that video. And let me know in the comments which gun you guys would choose. I'm very interested to hear whether you would use the Autoloader or whether you would use the regular 76mm on the M41 Walker Bulldog. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.